Welcome into SLA. We've got Friday, August 26th, a day before the big playoffs. This is your official playoff preview episode, so excited to get it in just under the wire, 24 hours to kick off. So we're going to talk a lot about the two playoff matchups. I want to touch briefly on what happened with the Mexico-LA game as a recap, but really I want to put the focus on the playoffs, and certainly we got a couple great guests. But before we introduce the guest, I am your host, Mitch Mortaza. Alongside, as always, is Alex Saxon.
What up?
And the trusted editor on the show, as always, is Miss Alex Montone. So that's your lineup for the day as far as behind the scenes. As far as our guests are concerned, we have Nene McLean. Some know her as Nene McLean of the Seattle Thunder. She's the outstanding, real dual threat for him, both on the offense and defensive side of the ball.
She's definitely been on one this whole season so far. Yeah,
and I believe she's nominated for Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year award. What? How do I want to finish that? So anyways, she's had a good season.
Yeah, she's put on some numbers.
Outside of her, we've got Lauren Ziegler, no stranger to the game of football. She has a huge background in the game. Surprisingly, she wasn't nominated for anything this year. There's just the talent level. And again, when you're dealing with two regular season games, it's tough to really have a good gauge on it. But we'll talk to her about the Atlanta matchup. That's a matchup that they beat Austin earlier. But Austin was without Chris Daniels. I kind of want to dig into that to see how much, if any, they've prepared for a team with Chris Daniels. But let's briefly talk about Mexico versus L.A. I think with L.A. side, you're talking about a team that finally kind of put it together a little bit. They struggled in their first game against Austin, but you saw them with Mariah Lopez and Marissa Lopez really connecting. Obviously, they have the chemistry, they're sisters, but you really saw it come to the forefront. And the big question for LA going in the offseason are two questions for me. One, is Rory Derry really the best head coach to go into 2023 with? And then more importantly than that, I think, is Marissa Lopez. Is she the franchise quarterback that you can build around? She showed flashes, but, that's against a Mexico team that, let's be honest, you're talking about the best athletes in Mexico playing the game of football, but the big asterisk is they had 40 days to work together. If we put our best athletes together on one team that have never played prior, give them 40 days, they're not going to be as good as they are right now. So while LA had a great bounce-back game, let's not lose sight of the fact that it was against a team that was put together 40 days ago that have never played at this stage prior. So a lot of questions going into the offseason for LA, but the good news is you left the season on a high mark, regardless of who you played. I thought the whole team played well together. The defense converged. They did things. You saw a couple outstanding performances. So I don't know what to take back from that Mexico-LA game, but know that there's a lot of work to be done with the Black Storm this offseason.
Now, I will say compared to their first game, they definitely did look more comfortable, right? Especially Marissa. I mean, when you compare game 1 to game 2 for her, it was night and day difference. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we said, their chemistry, I think overall as a team was easy to see.
And
which made for an exciting game. I mean, regardless of the Mexico team or not, they showed that that is why they're here.
Well, Mexico didn't roll over either. I didn't think they were going to score. That was the only suspense we had at the end of the game, is that could that shutout be intact for Los Angeles? And give them some credit. They weren't at halftime. I remember going into the locker room with Mexico, and they were just in shambles. You could tell most of that first half they played scared. The runners were tiptoeing to the line of scrimmage, and that's how you get hurt. A couple got hurt that way. When you've got an opponent going 110% and you're going 70 because you're scared, you're going to get hurt. So, that's a learning curve that's going to come. Look, that's the first opportunity they've had to work with us So let's see how that develops. Let's see how the game develops down there. As I said in the previous episode, we're going to be on a plane meeting with them as to how we grow the game in Mexico. So that's just the beginning of it, and certainly that product is going to improve, I would imagine. So that's your Mexico-LA lineup. But what people are tuning in for, they want to talk playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
We're 24 hours away from a doubleheader live on FanPass. And for those who don't know, we're kicking off. The first game is Chicago versus Seattle, another rematch. That's at 3 o'clock Pacific where we are, 6 o'clock Eastern, live on FanPass. Then immediately following that game at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, you've got Atlanta versus Austin. So back-to-back football games that are going to be, if anything like their regular season matchups, they're going to be tremendous football games.
These are both going to be gnarly games. Like, I'm very excited to see how this goes, especially the Seattle game. That one's going to be a close one.
Yeah, Seattle, look, I mean, that came down. Let's not forget to that final play, when Stephanie Raymond just kind of found Tamika Robinson for that 5-yard touchdown. I still can't explain the defensive play call for Seattle where they just got after it and there was nobody there to defend. I still haven't heard an answer to that.
I don't see that happening again, though.
No, I think
they.
I think they're going to trust that Stephanie Raymond is a legit dual threat quarterback. And I think they're going to end up spying her to make sure that she doesn't beat him with her legs and make her beat you with her arm. And, and then put a little attention on Tamika Robinson. I think, look, the key to this game, without a doubt, is going to be the play on the defensive side of the ball for both teams because both of their offenses are playing well. Chicago is a nod ahead of Seattle offensively in the stats. And defensively, Seattle's toward the bottom. I believe they're second to last. So if there's a blaring weakness for that Seattle Thunder team, it's going to be when their defense is on the field. And I think that's going to be what decides this game, when you have Chicago's offense out there versus Seattle's defense. Because Seattle's offense is going to post some points. I think they're going to keep pace. But can their defense defend? They were challenged in that first game against Chicago.
A little wake-up call.
Yeah.
A little wake-up call.
And defensively, you've got to figure out that, on Chicago's side, we're going to have this young lady, Nene McLean. She's really the one that I'm thinking of if I'm Sid Lewis going into this game of the Chicago Blitz is how do I keep my focus on her while still understanding you've got Dominique Malloy and you've got Kiara Williams. So that's the three-headed monster for Seattle. Now that's if they can defend, if their defense can play ball. Then their offense can handle business. But I still think if I had to make a call, and we'll give a score a little bit later, but I think Chicago has the nod simply because I think they have the better defense going into this game, where their offenses are pretty equally matched at this point.
Agree. I definitely agree.
So, let's talk about the Seattle game, dig into it a bit more, and to do that, we do have Nene McLean of the Seattle Thunder. Nene, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Miss McClain, do you prefer Nene or do you prefer Janitra?
I prefer Nene. You can call me Nene.
I thought that was her only name at one point. I was like, who's Janitra?
I've gotten mixed reviews, so I want to know from you directly. So it's going to be Nene from now on. So, Nene, let's talk about this big matchup you guys have tomorrow. Luckily you're in a good position. It's kind of a home game. You don't have to travel. But talk to us about what the mood was like in the locker room following that previous loss to Chicago, and where is your mindset now?
Yes, for sure. Walking into that locker room last game, it was, obviously huge disappointment. We were definitely humbled. I think everyone on the team was definitely humbled by it. But the thing that I do like most about playing for these group of women is we already immediately, critiqued our mistakes and, we were ready to get back to the drawing board to make sure that it didn't happen this game. So.
Okay. Hey, so tell me this. How do you feel about being nominated for Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely humbling for me. It's definitely something I wasn't expecting, obviously with COVID, taking the years off. So I wasn't for certain how aggressive or technically sound I would be coming into it. But, it's definitely honored. I'm definitely honored to be able to, be nominated for a Defensive Player of the Year award. I couldn't have done it without my teammates. They definitely played a key factor in, me defensively, teammates, them believing in me. So I'm definitely appreciative of that.
You have some pretty good company there. You got Whitney Palmer. I know Keon Harrison has had an incredible year. So stiff competition for the Defensive Player of the Year nominee, but you've certainly made your impact. I think what's impressive about Nene more than anything is that she's done it on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
You could have made a claim that she could have gotten an Offensive Player of the Year nomination.
Would not put it past me.
So I want to get back to one previous point because that's what I'm most curious about. When a team loses to a team in the regular season and then has to face them in the playoffs, Nene, there's a bit of a psychological thing there, in terms of how do you get that loss out of your mind where you're starting with a fresh slate, 0-0, playoffs, it's a brand new game. Does any bit of that loss linger in the back of your mind?
Absolutely not. Like I said, more than anything, it humbled me. It humbled all my teammates. We were definitely, excited to get back to the drawing board to figure out where those holes were offensively and defensively. So we've been doing what it takes to be able to make sure we're prepared the next time around. So mentally, physically, we've been getting ourselves prepared. We're definitely going into this next game more confident. We realized our mistakes, and most of those mistakes we pretty much beat ourselves. So I feel pretty confident going into this next game and making sure that, we're able to deliver offensively and defensively.
Now, I guess we'll wrap it with this. One of the keys for this game is going to be how you defend against that Chicago offense. We just alluded to it earlier. Specifically Stephanie Raymond, their dual threat quarterback who kind of shredded your defense in the earlier regular season matchup. So have you guys taken any precautions? Have you put more of an emphasis on containing Stephanie Raymond?
Oh, yeah. We definitely made a lot of adjustments this past weekend. Like I said, we're definitely more prepared. We made a lot of changes on our defense. So I'm excited to be able to show that and, be able to deliver. So definitely I'll say they won't see it coming. So I'm excited to see on the next game on how we can deliver that best to them. So we're coming for you.
I'm sure Sid Lewis watches this game. He's talked about it before this podcast, so I am sure he's taking note. That
Sid's saying the exact same thing. He's like, yeah, Nene, we're watching you too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're coming for him. I'm definitely more motivated going into this next game because I play best with a chip on my shoulder. So, coming into this next game as underdogs, I wouldn't want anything more. So I'm ready.
Hell yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so you guys are the betting underdog for this one. So this is usually the period in the show where we all give a score, including yourself. So Alex, you can go first, or I can go first.
You go first because I'm still thinking.
Well, honestly, like I said, I think both teams are going to put up some points. Again, because I think it's how are the defenses going to play in this game, and I think they're going to be overpowered by the offenses to a degree. So I think you're going to get a 35, and close your ears, Nene, but you're going to get a 35-28 win for Chicago, advancing to X Cup 2022. I call it here. And by the way, I had the right score last time.
Yeah, you just had the wrong.
Flipped the teams.
You just said the exact same score.
Did I really?
You said the exact
35?
same score. That's exactly what you thought, but you switched it. So now you're going the opposite way.
So 35-28, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to go Seattle 37, Chicago 32.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, the home crowd will love that.
I'm going to get stabbed
The
by either
home
team.
The home crowd will love that, and that'll put Seattle into the X Cup in Austin. We've got Hayden in the office. Hayden Keefe, our trusted field talent. What do they call you now anyways? What's the new title? What do you have on your email?
He's like, game day operations. I book your flights, your hotels. I do.
I think it's mostly just football operations.
We've got you down to football
operations.
Ops. That's
Okay.
good. So if you're part of football ops, you should have a very educated guess about this game. What do you think about the score?
I think it's definitely going to be close. I think biggest thing is going to be whoever comes away with the turnover is going to definitely win it. That's why.
So you're saying turnovers are going to be key in this game. All right. So what do you got for
And
a
the
score?
score?
I'm saying Chicago 32, Seattle 28.
Okay, so he's got
Damn.
Chicago as well, 32-28. That's Hayden Keith's score. And it only leaves one other person here, and that's Miss Janitra McClain.
She's like
Nene.
90-10.
48 Seattle, 30 Chicago.
Okay, that's a pretty
That's a good one,
realistic
too.
score.
Yeah.
Okay, 48. That's the most realistic score an athlete's ever given on this show. Because usually it's very heavily slated in their
90
favor.
to 10.
Well, we're going to find out regardless in 24 hours. We're going to be on a plane to Seattle here shortly from Southern California. And everybody, Austin, Atlanta. Who am I blanking on? I should ask our travel agent, too. Austin, Atlanta. Who's at the Chicago, of course. Okay, so those are our 3 teams flying in as we speak. Well, listen, Miss McClain, we appreciate you taking the time to be part of the show. And we'll see you Saturday. Best of luck and stay healthy.
Most definitely. Thank you so much.
See you on Saturday. That is Miss Janitra McClain, running back, and I believe she plays in the secondary on the defensive side of the ball.
Defensive end.
That's also your Defensive Player of the Year nominee. So good catch.
Also
there.
another player that can pretty much play any position.
She can.
She really
She's an athlete.
If someone's slacking, she can easily go and pick up at
honestly,
any place.
I know they flanked her at wide receiver. She could easily play running back. That's her natural spot. I would love to see her at DN because she's got that tenacity about her. You know, she is a great athlete to build that franchise around, you know, as they develop, because it's an older roster, let's be honest, in Seattle, and it's the thinnest roster in the league. You know, it's going to be one of the big things in Seattle, regardless of the outcome of this Saturday game, is going to be a better emphasis, a more sophisticated approach to the offseason. You know, you can't have 15, 16 athletes at this phase without only 2 games. Imagine a full season. Injuries, and that's one of the keys I didn't mention in this game, that you know, Seattle is paper thin coming into this game. You lose a McClain, you lose a Malloy, you lose any of those.
And that was
Williams.
That was scary for their game against Chicago last time.
Absolutely.
I think Nene got
Nene was down.
eye poke, I want to
eye.
say.
Luckily, I thought it was more serious than that, but it was just a poked eye.
That could totally change up your whole game.
That changes things. And then you talk about a Chicago team that's working with a roster of 30-plus girls to pick and choose from, simply because they have a better off-season program with recruiting and building the roster. That's one thing that Seattle is going to need to improve on. We'll see. We'll see how injuries potentially, hopefully it does not play in the game Saturday, but it's not just the Saturday game. You're also playing in the X Cup if you win that game. So a lot to look forward to. So that is Seattle versus Chicago. They're going to get us started. And again, that's going to be 6 o'clock Eastern live on FanPass. But let's move our focus to the next game that kicks off at 6 o'clock Eastern on Saturday tomorrow. And one of the key figures in that game certainly is going to be Miss Lauren Ziegler. And now we welcome her into SLA. Welcome, Lauren.
Hey, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure being on here.
Now, talk to us about something. I'm curious. You know, I'm pressing, 30. I'm almost 30 here, and I know it's starting.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
That almost just went right over my head.
And I know it's getting tougher and tougher to get out of bed and run the trails behind the house and all that good stuff. So talk to me about how you prepare now. You've been at this game for a minute. How do you prepare your body for football? I can imagine that's a lot tougher than running trails.
Yeah, after playing this sport for, 11 years, however long I've been, playing football, it's definitely different. I definitely have to prepare a bit different, a lot more stretching, a lot more ice baths, a lot more Epsom salt baths, just making sure that I'm taking care of, old injuries and stuff like that. It's inevitable as you get old, things start hurting a bit more than before, but, I feel like shaking and moving like I once was 10 years ago. Maybe not as fast, but definitely still, anybody could get it at any time is all I'm saying.
Jessica Salazar, you guys both being on offense, how is that kind of working for Atlanta right now?
Yeah, no, moving Jessica to offense, from, previously when she used to play, has been huge for us. And she's such an asset on both offense and defense, but on offense more specifically, she's been a big threat for us, and for other teams to be able to stop her. So she's been, once again, a big asset for us, and we're going to continue to use her, and we're going to continue to drive the ball down people's throats using her talents and her speed and, and her aggressiveness. She's a big girl. So she's not somebody I would want to step in front of personally, but yeah, we're definitely taking advantage of her aggressiveness and, her running back skills.
Well, we'll touch on the league MVP nominee in a second, Miss Jessica Salazar. But going back to Alex's question, it seems like you guys have now morphed into a dual threat running back combination when most people are used to seeing you on the outside as a receiver. So I guess, how comfortable are you in that running back role?
As always, I'm a big team player. Do I prefer to run the ball? I'd rather, run routes and receive passes, but it's in the greater good for the team, and I like it. Anytime I could touch the ball is, always fun for me. And even if I'm not touching the ball, there's other responsibilities that, I'm tied to and that I enjoy. And it's a little different because it's making sure that the team is successful. And, in the past, there's always been a quarterback receiver duo, and it's changed a bit, and I'm excited about it. And, it's different, but it's still fun, and it's exciting to watch, and it's exciting to be a part of.
So, I know a lot of the talk this season in Atlanta has centered around, rightfully so, Bailey Hodgins, the 19-year-old quarterback, certainly Jessica Salazar, the running back. Is there somebody that we are all missing that's a huge contributor to this team and someone we should look out for in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think often she's slept on, in a lack of a better term, is Jolie Fezekai. She's been a part of, the Atlanta organization and past for years and years now, and she comes in clutch always, and she's always an active person on our roster that plays both offense and defense very, very well. And I definitely think that she's somebody that people need to keep an eye on because, when we're in a pinch situation, she's who I would go to. That's just my personal opinion. I think a lot of times people, she doesn't get the credit or, what she's deserved for what she's done in her football career. But I definitely think that she's somebody that people definitely need to keep their eyes on.
I definitely agree. She is definitely one of my favorite tight ends for sure.
What's the definitely count up between you and Lauren? That word count has got to be up to 115
definitely?
now, the word definitely.
Definitely, right?
I think there's two words I hate more than any. One is like, because can't get away from that. All millennials can't say a sentence without the word like somehow.
Definitely.
And that's the second one, definitely.
Well, I'll be sure to refrain myself from using it.
There you go.
So I got another question on Salazar. Is she as badass as we're portraying her at practice, off the field, or is she this nice, gentle human?
I wouldn't say she's gentle by any means, but me and Salazar go way back from, when she was a rookie to playing football. And, Salazar is a great person. She's super sweet. She would give you the shirt off her back. But at the end of the day, when it comes to football, I wouldn't step in front of her. I wouldn't fuck with her. But she is definitely a threat, and she's super aggressive on the field, but off the field, super nice person, super great, very friendly. And again, she's a great team player. She gets along with everybody. She encourages everybody, and she also, is a great leader for this team.
Now, Lauren, let's get back to the game tomorrow. We talked about at the beginning of the podcast here that the key, we think, is going to be how both defenses perform because both offenses can move the ball, certainly. Atlanta has shown that with yourself, Lindsay Zell, Jessica Salazar, that you guys can move the rock. Jolie Fezekai, who you mentioned on Austin's side, they've got plenty of weapons, as we talked about earlier. Chris Daniels returning to the lineup, which I think is a huge difference maker, not only just offensively, but defensively for them. Talk to us about, what you think is going to be the difference in this game. What is one thing that you guys are keying on against Austin?
It's going to fall down to who makes the fewer mistakes. At the end of the day, that's what's going to come down to. The team that makes the least mistakes. And it's more so going to be on defense. If we can stop them 3 times, I think we're good. But again, we're going to have to show up because like you mentioned, they're going to score points. It's not going to be a shutout. It's going to be a head-to-head, and it's who can stop them and who can have the least turnovers.
Yeah, that's it. Which defense is going to show up, right? Because as you mentioned, Michelle Angel's going to put points up. You guys are going to put points up. And right now, of the two defenses, without a doubt, Atlanta's playing better ball on the defensive side of the ball and by a wide margin. That's one of the downfalls, I think, for teams that have more of the West Coast approach, very in love with the offensive side, namely Austin, Seattle's like that. I feel like not a lot of emphasis. Both of those head coaches are very offensive-minded guys. Mike Oliveira of Austin, Chris Michelson of Seattle. Then you get guys like Dane Robinson, who's more of a defensive guy, right? So his defense has really excelled this year. I think that's the difference maker. Again, the reason I'm picking Chicago in the early game against Seattle is because of their defense. I know it's not sexy to talk about defense, but I think it's their defense that's going to be the difference maker. And the reason I'm going to go ahead and pick Atlanta for the second game is going to be defense. And then you're going to potentially see an X-Cup matchup of two very similar teams in Chicago and Atlanta. Defensive-minded, but can move the rock offensively.
Oh, so you have Chicago and Atlanta going.
Did I already give that away? Yeah, I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't given the score. That comes
No,
up
you
next.
haven't given that
Don't
score.
jump the gun.
Okay, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, hold on.
So, Lauren, it sounds like you and I are on the same page as far as the defense is playing the key role. We like to give scores here in SLA. So what we'll do is we'll start with Alex, Mr. Saxon. He'll give us a score on the game.
Again? I always have to
I'll
think
go-
about these.
Hey, I went
Yeah.
first last time.
Did you? Okay.
I did.
you
I think I did.
All right. I'll keep this one. I don't know if this one's going to be as high.
Yeah,
I'm
get too deep. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
You got
gonna
a really good
go-
defense.
I'm going to go 26-21, Atlanta winning.
Yeah, that's a very, very reasonable score. Hayden Keith, what do you got for us?
I got Atlanta 48, Austin 32.
Atlanta 48, Austin 32. Okay, yeah, so you've got a lot of points going up by the 19-year-old Bailey Hodgins, huh?
Oh, I think Atlanta's going to do everything they can to keep that 1 seed.
Okay, Atlanta, the number 1 seed, following through, putting up 48 points, giving up 32. That's not bad. I think I'm going to go with a little higher scoring than you. I think I'm going to say 42-35. I think you're going to see both offenses break out, and the emotions are going to be running high. So I think you get more points with Atlanta winning. And I believe our X-Cup matchup is going to be Chicago versus Atlanta in Austin on September 10th. Bring the barbecue, Lauren Ziegler.
See, I was going to I'm thinking it's going to be Seattle, Atlanta.
Okay.
That'll be a nasty game.
I think any matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they're all gonna be sick,
Give me a matchup that you wouldn't want to see in the X Cup. They all work. They all work. So, Lauren, I know you're getting fast prepared for this game tomorrow, but we appreciate you taking the time. Did I miss something?
We need her score, right?
We need her score. Shoot, what am I doing? Go ahead and give us your score, Lauren.
Yes, you know what? I think we're going to roll with 32-28 Atlanta, of course. And to kind of piggyback on your guys' guess, I'm going to have to go with Atlanta-Seattle in the X Cup. And here's why. KK Matheny is out for revenge. She didn't take that loss lightly. And, we all know what she's capable of and what Michelson's capable of. I think it's going to be an excellent game, but I definitely think Seattle's going to take the cake.
You see Lauren's angling already. She knows her football career is coming to an end. She's already given us incredible analysis, better than both you and I.
Whoa, an end. You still got like 5 more years, right?
No, I'm just saying, like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of when it's coming to an end. And there she goes with the analysis. But your game, you've got 32-28. You guys winning, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, listen. Either way, should be a very fun day in the old Pacific Northwest at the ShoWare Center. So we will see you there tomorrow, and best of luck in the game, Lauren.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. Have a good night.
All right, that's Lauren Ziegler zooming in from Florida, catching a flight to the Pacific Northwest as we speak. A lot happening in the next 24 hours. Buckle in, folks. These are going to be the 2 best games of the year, obviously. And how often do you get to say that as a league, that the playoff games are the best football? That's not always the case. You get somebody sneaking in that's not as good, and number 1, number 4. I mean, if you match up Atlanta versus Austin, which we are, I mean, you could make a serious case for Austin winning.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you're asking me my scores. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is
it's a hard one to judge, but they're all going to be exciting.
I guess you guys will find out when we find out Saturday. None of us know for sure, but we decided to give you scores anyways. In case one of us ever nails it, we're going to come back and boast about it all show.
Hey, or post your own scores in the comments.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I would love to see if a fan could nail it on the head.
Give us your score in the comments. And speaking of that, like this page, follow this page. We're going to continue to give you guys content. I know everybody's kind of bummed about the games not being here, But Alex and I are here. Give us love.
They're like, unfollow, unsubscribe.
But listen, we're going to continue to give you guys content. In fact, speaking of that, the next SLA, we're off next week in advance of Labor Day. But the following week, X Cup week, we'll be going live on one of the social platforms on Friday, leading up to the X Cup. But actually, more details about that coming up in terms of what day exactly. But we're going to be going live, and we'll have a player in studio at a barbecue house and do it right for the X Cup. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. But thank you for joining us. And I want to thank our guests, obviously, Lauren Ziegler of the Atlanta Empire, certainly Miss Nene McLean of your Seattle Thunder. Curious to see how she plays the season out. And in studio here, we got Hayden coming in, helping us out with the setup for the show today, right? Mr. Alex Saxon, Alex Montone editing, and of course myself. We want to thank you guys for joining, and we will see you in 2 weeks from Austin, Texas. Take care.